We'll touch into some SmackDown. Very important stuff. So please remember to check that out next Saturday at 12 o'clock noon Central Time. Well, it's time to talk about some new features, and it's also time to talk about what the Score is about. You know, the Score is... You're listening to the Score. It's a brand new, revamped, rebranded show, and as you know, we previously had different podcasts. We had like 4 different podcasts. We had Official Statements, we had Ask WWN, we had Pipe Bomb, we had the Ringside Podcast. Don't get me wrong, we enjoyed all of those podcasts. But it was time to set just one great big podcast, or one great big show up. And we decided to call it The Score. It has results, it has live coverage, it has previews. It has so much in it. And you know, it's also going to be now having special Ask WWNs. As you know, we had Ask WWN as a special podcast, but now we're going to include it in here, into the Score show. So, we are going to talk about that later on in the show. And, you know, also, we will not completely get rid of shows like Pipe Bomb or Official Statements or the Ringside Podcast. In fact, heck, we probably won't even get rid of our Ask WWN podcast section. Also, those will all be archived right here on WorldWrestlingNews.com. But, you know, the Score, we just wanted to try something new. We wanted to revamp this and rebrand it as something new, something fresh, something that nobody has. And really, I think it's working out very well so far. But remember, please leave your feedback on WorldWrestlingNews.com in the comment sections and the polls, because that feedback really helps us improve. Well, let's talk about our Ask WWN. We have had so many questions sent in to us, and how are we going to get through all of them? Well, we only chose 4 for this week's episode, and of course this segment only lasts about 5 minutes, and if you haven't heard it before, it is a very enjoyable segment. Our first question is, what's the contract status of Rob Van Dam? Well, you know, we get this question so often. We do, and we've answered it so many times, but here we go again. You know, WWE claims that Rob Van Dam is not under a performance contract at this time. When he returned to the company at Money in the Bank in July, the plan was for him to work in 90-day increments. His most recent deal is up, and he's expected to return. That's all I have for now. And of course, that's all we have ever had. So, please stop asking us that question. Well, our next question is a very big one. What's your reaction to TNA pulling Impact Wrestling off the road and returning to Universal Studios? Well, for the first time ever, I'm going to compliment TNA Wrestling. Good job. I commend you for this. This is an excellent idea. TNA was never ready to go on the road to begin with. Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff pushed it, and they pushed too fast, too hard, and everything. I really think that it is going to save TNA Wrestling a lot of money, and I really think it's going to help them improve their stories and everything, as well as it also help them to keep more superstars hired and everything else, and to make sure that everyone is enjoying the product altogether. And I really think that it is best for business. Our next question. Is it far off to compare Big Show to Stone Cold Steve Austin? I think it is. You know, Big Show is a great athlete and one of the most versatile big men in the history of the wrestling business. You know, he's been able to get over multiple gimmicks and has been very reliable. However, I don't think his draw ability comes close to matching that of Steve Austin. Austin is in a very rare company and belongs right atop the list of people that have had the most impact. Our next question: if D-Generation X is inducted into the Hall of Fame, will the induction include China? Well, this question really should be phrased like this: when DX is inducted, not if. The faction, I guarantee it. The faction will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame one day, and it will mean dual inductions for Shawn Michaels and eventually dual inductions for Triple H. I don't see any reason why WWE would exclude Chyna, although they probably do not like the fact she's transitioned into a porn career. And that doesn't actually follow along with their PG initiative, but it wouldn't be right to exclude someone that had a big role in one of the most successful factions in history. Well, that is it for our Ask WWN segment. And remember, if you have any questions, remember to send your questions via email to us at askwwn@worldwrestlingnews.com. You can also tweet us now with your questions using our official hashtag AskWWN to @WWrestlingNews on Twitter. Well, what'd you think of this week's show? What did you think of our debut episode, The Score? It is a very special event and time that we get to spend live on the air with all of our listeners. We have so many people tuning in to this broadcast right now. It is ridiculous. So many. We have gotten so many tweets. It is so exciting. It really is. So, when's our next week's episode? Well, as I said earlier, next Saturday, 12 o'clock noon Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. And of course, it is a 30-minute broadcast, approximately. Sometimes we go over. Like this week's, we went over because it was a very special episode. It was our Hell in a Cell preview. It was also our debut episode, and we had a lot to cover. I mean, it is just so hard to cover this much in the world of professional wrestling and on this show. But remember to tune in next week to The Score. But for now, I'm your host, Michael Burgess, signing off.